What is up, everybody? Welcome to DFS by the Numbers. This is my full card breakdown and prediction video for UFC 296. We got Leon Edwards going against Colby Covington.
I need all the wins, yeah. Harder than all that is. You better move, you might get knocked out. Knocked out. You better move, you might get knocked out. Knocked out. You better move, you might get knocked out. Knocked out.
And we are back for the last prediction video of the year. This week we are breaking down UFC 296, a 14-fight card, a card that I'm really looking forward to. Like, on paper, this is one of the best main cards of the year. I mean, Paddy, Pimblett, Tony Ferguson's going to be fun. Ian, Garry, Vicente, Luque is going to be fun. Of course, we got Shavkat Rakhmonov on the card. The co-main event, Brandon Royval, Alexander Pantoja for the flyweight title. And then, of course, the main event for the welterweight championship, Leon Edwards, Colby Covington. Really good card. Looking forward to it. Before we get into it, all of you guys could please do me a favor. Leave a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel if you have not already. I do appreciate all the likes and everybody that has subscribed already. It's been a great year. I do want to thank you guys for a great year. I'm up currently around 67 units for the year. An incredible year. I'm very happy with how the year's played out. Looking to end it strong with UFC 296. Going to have a ton of action on this card. Looking to end the year with a bang. Tons of spots sticking out. Some underdogs sticking out. Some props sticking out as always. So looking to have a very, very good end of the year. But yeah, going to be a profitable year no matter what happens. And I'm very happy about that. It's always good to be in the profit at the end of the year. That's always the goal. I do want to shout out Prize Picks. This video is brought to you by Prize Picks. Guys, check it out. You get a 100% deposit match up to $100 using promo code DFSBTN, and then I'll do my Prize Picks video later in the week as well. A lot of people seem to like the Prize Picks. I love Prize Picks. Always fun playing that. It's a different, type of, fantasy game to play on Saturday. So go check it out. DFSBTN. Get yourself a 100% deposit match up to $100. It's free money. It helps me. It helps you guys as well. And do want to shout out DFSbythenumbers.com one last time for the year. I do really, really appreciate that everybody that has signed up throughout the year. I put a ton of hard work into the website. A lot of people don't see it, but the people that do sign up see how much work I do put in behind the scenes with the stats, with the articles. I mean, the articles, some of these articles I do take a long time, especially these 14-fight cards one that can range from anywhere from 14 to 17 pages long of breakdowns, best bets, all that good stuff. And now would be a great time to sign up. I'm telling you guys, this week is going to be a big week for me. A lot of action this week. So if you guys want to check out DFSbythenumbers.com one last time for the year, now is a great time to sign up. And then looking to carry it forward into 2024. Learned a lot in 2023, had a great year. I think 2024 is going to be a great year as well. So appreciate everybody that has signed up. That is absolutely the best way to support me. And then finally, since it is a pay-per-view card, going to be doing the significant strike contest as always. So comment down how many significant strikes you think that Leon Edwards and Colby Covington are going to combine for. $25 to first. If there's a tiebreaker, the tiebreaker does go to the person that commented first. And then since it is the last card of the year, whoever does win, I'll throw in a free t-shirt as well and ship it to you. If you're in the U.S., if you're not in the U.S., I'll probably find another way to get you something else. But yeah, so just comment down the significant strikes, $25 the first, and a free t-shirt. But if you're not in the U.S., we'll figure out something else for you guys. All right, with all that out of the way, I say we get into it. And we have a lot to talk about, so I want to get right to it. We're going to start with the first fight of the card. We got Randy Brown going against Muslim Salikhov. We got Randy Brown, 33 years old, 6'3", with a 78-inch reach, 17-5 and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. Muslim Salikhov, 39 years old, 5'11", with a 70-inch reach, 19-4 and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. We'll take a look at the odds, and this fight being on the first fight of the card, it just goes to show you how stacked this card is. I mean, this is a really fun fight. And by the way, Randy Brown opened up minus 175, currently minus 260. Muslim Salikhov opened up plus 150, and he's currently sitting at plus 220. So I've never been really a Salikhov guy. This is a guy in Salikhov who I don't like his volume. I don't like his cardio. I don't like his ground game. He's fought a lot of strikers, though. Like, I feel like the matchmakers or his manager's done a really good job in terms of not giving him guys that are going to grapple. And technically, I mean, Randy Brown's probably not going to go out there and shoot takedowns, so it's probably a striker versus striker matchup here. But yeah, I mean, Muslim Salikhov, he's an incredible striker, but just doesn't throw any volume. He has a ton of power, and maybe he can knock out Randy Brown. I kind of think that's his path, but if he's not knocking out Brown here, he's going to get out volume. And I think something something really important to mention is the tail of the tape. Randy Brown's going to be 4 inches taller, and he's going to have a 8-inch reach advantage. I mean, 8 inches is quite a lot of inches there. So yeah, I mean, I like Randy Brown here. I feel like he can win like multiple different ways. Like, I feel like Randy Brown can outpoint Salikhov to a decision just by doing more. I feel like Randy Brown could potentially land a big shot and knock out Salikhov. I mean, Salikhov's 39 years old at this point. And then I also think a Randy Brown club and sub is very live. Like, Randy Brown has those long arms, has a really good guillotine. I could see like him hurting Salikhov shooting in, and maybe Brown snatching up a neck, a guillotine, a darce, something like that. So yeah, I think Brown by sub is very live as well. So yeah, I just think Brown has a lot more ways to win this fight. With that said, do I want to lay minus 260 on Randy Brown? Not really. I did bet Brown, I believe, against Turman, and then I bet him against Francisco Trinaldo, and I think I laid around this price for both of those fights, and I did not feel too comfortable. When that Trinaldo fight went to decision, I thought it was a lot closer than need be. So yeah, Randy Brown's not somebody I really trust at this number, but I got to pick him here. He has a lot more ways to win. He's younger, he's bigger. I think he can win this fight wherever it goes. Yeah, just give me Randy Brown here. I'll take him to win by second round club and sub. Moving on, we have Martin Buday going against Shamil Gaziev. We got Buday, 32 years old, 6'4", with a 77-inch reach, 13-1, and 5-0 in his last 5 fights. Shamil Gaziev, he's 33 years old, 6'4", with a 78.5-inch reach, 11-0, and 5-0 in his last 5 fights. We'll take a look at the odds here. We have Buday opening at minus 200, currently minus 135. Gaziev opening up plus 170, currently plus 115. Fun fight here. I'm looking forward to this fight. Heavyweight fight here. And I feel like this fight plays out one of 2 ways. The first way I see this fight potentially playing out, and I feel like a lot of people are going to be on the side, and that side is Gaziev going out there and getting a first-round finish. Gaziev has 11 wins, 10 of which are under 1.5 rounds. Like, when he's winning fights, it's typically very early, and there's a reason for that. I don't like the cardio of Gaziev at all. I have really big concerns if this fight reaches the second round. Martin Buday, on the other hand, he's a guy that I've had success picking him in the UFC. I've had success betting him in the UFC. He's just a guy that he keeps on winning, but he's also a guy that kind of confuses me. He's a guy that has, honestly, a ton of talent, believe it or not. I think he has a ton of talent for the heavyweight division. For one, he's huge. He's 6'4". He's a guy that they'll always talk about. He used to be, a guy that was a professional, video game player, professional gamer, right? And he was like 400 pounds, and he got into mixed martial arts, and he's huge. I mean, this guy Martin Buday is huge, and it says they're both 6'4". I wouldn't be shocked if Buday, when we see the weigh-ins, is bigger than Gaziev here. I would not be shocked at all, because Buday is just a massive, massive guy. So yeah, I like the size of Buday. He's big. I like the cardio of Buday for heavyweight standards. Like, he doesn't have the best cardio in the world. I didn't think the Jake Collier fight was that great in terms of the cardio, but outside of that fight, she's shown good cardio, especially for a heavyweight. The volume of Buday is very good as well. Buday's landing like over 5 significant strikes per minute. So, and then on top of that, I think his best attribute is an attribute he doesn't use, is the ground game. Buday's a brown belt in BJJ. Once he gets on top, he can submit you, he can TKO you. It's just he hasn't really gone to that much in the UFC. He's landed 1 takedown in the UFC, and guess what happened? He got a sub. I mean, Martin Buday, if he was smart, I would like to see him to get a takedown here, especially if in the second or third round when Gaziev has no gas left. I truly believe if this fight reaches the second round, it heavily favors Martin Buday. So I think it's Gaziev early, Buday late, and I kind of lean towards Buday surviving the first round. Buday's tough. He has a chin. He has a brown belt. I lean towards him surviving on the ground if it goes there, surviving on the feet, and dragging this into deep waters and breaking Gaziev down the stretch. I like Buday to win this fight in the second or third round. I think he breaks down Gaziev, holds up against the cage, puts his weight on him, wears on him, and eventually takes him down, hopefully gets on top and pounds him out. Give me Martin Buday by second round TKO. Next, we got an absolute banger. Andre Fili going against Lucas Almeida. Really looking forward to this fight here. We got Andre Fili, 33 years old, 5'11", with a 74-inch reach, 22-10, and 1-3-1 no contest in his last 5 fights. We got Lucas Almeida, 32 years old, 5'11", with a 71-inch reach, 14-2, and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. We'll take a look at the odds. We have Fili opening up -200, currently -170. Lucas Almeida opening up +170, currently +145. And I think a lot of people might be down on Lucas Almeida after his last loss against Pat Sabatini, where it just wasn't even close. Pat Sabatini took him down, dominated him, and then submitted him in the second round. Almeida had zero success in that fight. And a lot of people might think that Fili potentially does the same thing here, which it's on the table. It is on the table. I think Fili can wrestle. The problem with Fili is he hasn't done it in a very long time. Like, it seems like nowadays Fili just wants to go out there and stand and bang. And then even when he is wrestling, he's not really controlling guys all that much. So I feel like Fili, if he fights smart, sure, he has a path here with the wrestling, but is he going to go to it? It's kind of the question. And if he does go to it, he's not Pat Sabatini. I mean, he's not, one of these Renzo Gracie Fili guys who have incredible control. The Sean Brady's, the Pat Sabatinis. Like, when Fili takes you down, you're getting back up quite a few times. So I feel like if Fili does go for takedowns, Almeida will be able to get back up at least a lot better than he did against Pat Sabatini. So what I'm saying is, primarily, I do expect this fight to stay standing. I think this is going to be a fun and exciting fight. I think if it wasn't so low down on the card, this could be even fight of the night potential, because these guys are going to stand and bang, in my opinion. And standing and banging with Lucas Almeida is just not something you want to do. Lucas Almeida, a 100% finish rate, a ton of power, super tough. And Fili, he's been finished a lot. I mean, Andre Fili's been finished a ton in the UFC. Andre Fili officially has 5 finish losses, 3 by knockout, 2 by sub. Not only is he getting finished, but he's getting dropped. I don't think he has the best chin. He's taken a lot of damage, and if he does go out there and stand and bang, kind of how I think Almeida's very live for a knockout as an underdog. So I'm going to take Almeida to win this fight by knockout in the second round. I'm fully aware Fili has a clear path here. Will he use it? That's yet to be seen. But give me Lucas Almeida to win this fight by second round KO. Moving on, we got Tagir Ulanbekov going against Cody Durden. We got Ulanbekov. He's 32 years old, 5'7", with a 70-inch reach, 14-2 and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. Cody Durden, 32 years old, 5'7", with a 67-inch reach, 16-4-1 and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. We'll take a look at the odds. Ulanbekov opened up -130, currently -170. Cody Durden opened up +110, currently +145. Cody Durden, I'm sure, is going to probably be the most popular dog of the week, and that's because he keeps on cashing as a dog. People like dogs that cash, and he's cashed as the dog twice in a row. I was on Cody Durden as an underdog against Charles Johnson, which, just looking back at it, I mean, Cody Durden being an underdog to Charles Johnson is hilarious to me, but he was, and it was about this price. It was about Cody Durden anywhere from +125, +130 against Charles Johnson, which is just ridiculous. But yeah, and now a lot of people are probably going to be on him here. But the problem I have with Cody Durden is I feel like this is a tough matchup for him. Like, I know a lot of people are going to be on him, but I feel like it's a tough matchup, because is he going to go out there and outstrike Tagir? No, I don't think so. Is he going to go out there and out-wrestle Tagir? Maybe. But the thing that I don't like with Durden is he makes a lot of mistakes on the mat. We even saw in the Hadley fight. Like, in the Hadley fight, he almost got subbed like 3 or 4 times. He's been subbed 3 times in his career officially, Cody Durden. He's been subbed twice in the UFC. And Tagir Ulanbekov has a nasty guillotine. Like, if you're Cody Durden, you can't afford to make one mistake against Tagir. And Cody makes a ton of mistakes on the mat. So I'm kind of leaning. I feel like this can go 2 ways. Durden by decision potentially, or Tagir by sub. I think the Tagir sub's very live. I went back and watched the Alon Nascimento fight, and he was so close to submitting Alon Nascimento in the first round. I am not sure how Alon Nascimento got out of that choke. I'm not sure how he did it. And I think Alon Nascimento is a much, much, much better grappler than Cody Durden. So, yeah, I just feel like Tagir is going to get opportunities here. I think Tagir is going to get the better of the striking exchanges. I think that's going to force Cody Durden to wrestle. And I think Cody Durden might put his neck into a guillotine here. So I'm leading guillotine for Tagir Ulanbekov. I think it's going to very much be on the table. So, yeah, give me Tagir by sub. And I think he gets it done. I'll say in the second round. Second round submission for Tagir Ulanbekov. Okay, next we got Dustin Jacoby going against Alonzo Menifield. We got Dustin Jacoby, 35 years old, 6'3", with a 76-inch reach, 19-7-1 and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. Alonzo Menifield, 36 years old, 6 foot with a 76-inch reach, 14-3-1 and 3-1-1 in his last 5 fights. We have Dustin Jacoby opening up -155, currently -300. Alonzo Menifield opening up +135. He is currently +250. Money pouring in on Dustin Jacoby, and I don't disagree, but I don't know. I mean, Alonzo Menifield is a guy that he's kind of hit or miss. Like in some performances, he looks incredible, and then in some performances, he just looks off. Like the William Knight performance was horrible. The OSP performance from Menifield was just atrocious. And Dustin Jacoby is going to have a lot of advantages here. Dustin Jacoby is going to, at 35 years old, be the younger guy. He's going to be 6'3". He's going to have a 3-inch height advantage here. He's going to be the better striker, a lot more volume, a lot better cardio. I mean, there's a lot of reasons to like Dustin Jacoby. And I think if Menifield does win this fight, it's going to have to be by knockout. I don't see Menifield going out there across 3 rounds and out-voluming Jacoby. I don't see Menifield going out there and out-wrestling Jacoby. Menifield can wrestle, but I don't like the gas tank. I don't like the cardio. I don't think he can do it for 3 rounds. And Dustin Jacoby, although doesn't have the best takedown defense, his get-up game is elite, and he's big, and he's hard to hold down. So yeah, I mean, if Menifield wins this fight, I think it's going to have to be knocking out Dustin Jacoby, and that's going to be hard to do. Dustin Jacoby, he has been knocked out once in his career. Just once in 27 fights. He's a great chin. He does get dropped here or there, but great recoverability, and he's showing a lot of power in his own right lately. I mean, Dustin Jacoby, not really known as like a murderous knockout artist, has quite a few knockouts in the UFC. Went out there, finished Kennedy Nzechukwu in the first round, Da Un Jung in the first round. So yeah, he can go out there and finish guys. I'm kind of leaning more towards a decision here for Dustin Jacoby, though. I think he plays this fight smart, sticks to the outside, uses kicks, uses volume, and just picks apart Alonzo Menifield across 15 minutes. And it could look a little bit like the Roundtree fight, which I thought, Roundtree lost that fight. I thought Dustin Jacoby won the fight, and honestly, pretty handedly. And it could look like that, where Dustin Jacoby's getting the better of the numbers. Alonzo Menifield lands a big shot here and there. So maybe it's a little bit closer than this line does indicate, but it's hard not to pick Dustin Jacoby here. And I do like Dustin Jacoby to get it done. And I'll say he gets it done by first round, decision. He gets it done by decision. Moving on, we have a fun fight here. Casey O'Neill going against Ariane Lipski. We got Casey O'Neill, 26 years old, 5'6" with a 69-inch reach, 9-1 and 4-1 in her last 5 fights. Ariane Lipski, 29 years old, 5'6" with a 67-inch reach, 16-8 and 3-2 in her last 5 fights. We have Casey O'Neill opening up -265, currently -190. Ariane Lipski opening up +225, currently +165. So, yeah, I've never been high on Casey O'Neill. I thought, people really overrated Casey O'Neill. I really did. But all that aside, I think this is a phenomenal matchup for Casey O'Neill. I think a lot of people are going to be on Lipski this week, just like Cody Durden. Lipski continuously cashes as an underdog. JJ Aldrich, she was a big dog in that fight against JJ Aldrich. And then even against Melissa Gata, her last fight, she was a decent-sized dog as well. And she's a decent-sized dog here. So I think people are going to gravitate towards that dog money, but you kind of got to dig into it a little bit more. I mean, you go back and watch some of Lipski's past performances, and yeah, I know she's probably made some improvements, but my goodness, go back to the Montana De La Rosa fight. All Montana De La Rosa needed was 2 takedowns, and she was able to just dominate her. Montana De La Rosa beat Ariane Lipski so bad on the mat that even Keith Peterson had to stop the fight. Even Keith Peterson stopped the fight. I mean, Lipski got knocked out by De La Rosa. That was De La Rosa's first knockout ever. I mean, it's not a good look. And then prior to that, which is an even worse look, Antonina Shevchenko. Antonina Shevchenko was able to get down Ariane Lipski, dominate her on the mat. I mean, Lipski made Antonina Shevchenko look like Khamzat Chimaev. I mean, it was ridiculous. I was shocked when that happened, but Antonina got on top and pounded her out. Antonina Shevchenko. And then, Lipski beats Mandy Bum. It's a great win. She gets knocked out by Priscilla Cachoeira. No shame in that, although that is her 3rd knockout loss in the UFC. And then she beats JJ Aldrich and Melissa Gatto, stuffing all 19 takedowns. So we didn't get to see her ground game. We didn't get to see Lipski offer back. And I have a strong suspicion if Casey O'Neill wrestles here and if Casey O'Neill gets a takedown, it's going to get very bad very quickly, because Casey O'Neill, her ground and pound's vicious. Like, I think her ground and pound's much better than De La Rosa, who's finishing nobody. I think her ground and pound's much better than Antonina Shevchenko, obviously. O'Neal can grapple as well, but it's that ground and pound that I think is going to give Lipski a lot of problems, because that's what gives Lipski problems. The ground and pound, the power. Lipski's been finished 4 times. She's a fly. You shouldn't be getting finished 4 times as a female flyweight. We just don't see that all too often. So Casey O'Day has a real path to victory here. The wrestling, I think she goes to it. She hasn't in her last 2 fights, but that's against Jennifer Maia, black belt, Roxanne Modafferi, black belt. I think she takes down Lipski here and dominates her and finishes her. Even on the feet, say Lipski does stuff to takedowns, you got to favor the striking of Lipski. Lipski's striking is much better than O'Neal. O'Neal's super hittable. It's ugly at times. But what I do like about O'Neal is just the volume, incredible volume from O'Neal and power. So it wouldn't completely shock me if she even knocked out Lipski on the feet. We've seen it before. So I just feel like O'Neal has multiple paths to win this fight. I feel like Lipski's underdog streak comes to an end here. Give me Casey O'Neal to finish this fight by second round at TKO in this one here. Should be a fun one, though. Moving on, we got Cody Garbrandt going against Brian Kelleher. We got Cody Garbrandt, 32 years old, 5'8", with a 65.5-inch reach, 13-5 and 2-3 in his last 5 fights. Brian Kelleher, 37 years old, 5'6", with a 64-inch reach, 24-14 and 2-3 in his last 5 fights. This is probably the 1-800-Gambler fight of the week for me. It's a fight that I actually might be betting, believe it or not. There's a prop that kind of sticks out. But, this fight, I don't know. We have Cody Garbrandt, who he's only 32 years old, but he looks just completely washed. He looks done. 5 losses for Cody Garbrandt. The majority of those coming by knockout. Getting knocked out 4 times. I don't think he has the best chin. He's come up a weight class here. I don't know. Cody Garbrandt is a guy that he just looks off. Like, even in some of these fights where he's winning, like the Trevin Jones fight, I was in attendance for that fight, and everybody was booing this guy. It was like the worst fight ever. I was the only one in the arena enjoying the fight, and that's because I had a Cody Garbrandt ticket. And Cody Garbrandt fought the game plan I would want him to, and that's to do nothing, because you can't do anything if you're Cody Garbrandt. You can't get into a war. You can't get into wild exchanges like he used to. He just can't. He can't take a shot at this point. So Cody Garbrandt fought a good game plan. He took down Trevin Jones. He pushed him against the cage. He barely threw any volume, and that's a great game plan there, no matter how boring the fight was. So I don't know. I just don't think it's the same Cody Garbrandt. On the flip side, we got Kelleher, who's 37 years old at bantamweight, taking a massive layoff, coming off of like a massive injury as well, I believe. So red flags on both sides. I'm going to pick Kelleher here, actually. I feel like in terms of the more skilled fighter, there's no doubt in my mind Cody Garbrandt's more skilled, even at this point of his career. It's just the durability. Brian Kelleher, not really a knockout threat, but he does have power, and he's not going to be like a Trevin Jones, right? Trevin Jones was content to play the game of Cody Garbrandt, which was just to do nothing. And I feel like Brian Kelleher is going to kind of force the fight out of Cody Garbrandt, force him to exchange a little bit, force him to wrestle. And Kelleher has that guillotine. Kelleher has some pop in his hands, and I think some pop is maybe all it takes at this point to knock out Cody Garbrandt. So I'm going to say Brian Kelleher here does knock out Cody Garbrandt, but I can definitely see a situation where Cody Garbrandt kind of outclasses, Kelleher across 3 rounds. I don't really think Garbrandt's finishing Kelleher, though. When Kelleher loses, it's by sub. Garbrandt 0 subs on his record, and I've heard some Garbrandt sub takes, this week, but look at who Kelleher's getting submitted by. Mario Bautista submitted him. I don't think there's any shame in that. I'm very high on Mario Bautista. Got submitted by Marlon Vera. There is no shame in that for Brian Kelleher as well. He got submitted by Montel Jackson, but that was a club and sub, I believe, where he got hurt, ran into something, and then he also got submitted by Umar Nurmagomedov. So, yes, he's getting sub, but he's getting sub by good grapplers. Cody Garbrandt has no submissions ever. So, I'm not worried about the sub. I'm kind of worried about just Garbrandt kind of outclassing him and across 15 minutes. But I'll say Kelleher does find something at some point, lands a big shot, and puts Cody Garbrandt out for like the 20th time. Give me Brian Kelleher. I'll say he wins this fight by knockout as a pretty big dog here. Moving on to the next fight, we got a great fight here, a banger, and Irene Aldana going against Karol Rosa. A fight that I cannot wait to watch here and break down. We got Aldana. She's 35 years old, 5'9", with a 68.5-inch reach, 14-7 and 3-2 in her last 5 fights. Karol Rosa, she's 28 years old, 5'5", with a 67.5-inch reach, 17-5 and 3-2 in her last 5 fights. We'll take a look at the odds here. Aldana is a favorite, opening up -165. currently minus 185. Karol Rosa opening up plus 145. She's currently plus 160. I think this is a very close fight. I mean, I don't get these odds. Like, I would not feel comfortable laying anywhere near, minus 185 on Irene Aldana here. I love the striking of Aldana. I love the power of Aldana. She has solid takedown defense at 75%. A lot of that is kind of skewed from her last fight where Nunes did take her down. Yeah, so her takedown defense is solid, really good striking. I like the striking. But with Karol Rosa, she's much younger. I mean, 7 years younger. Aldana's kind of getting up there at 35 years old. I love the volume that Karol Rosa brings to the table, landing over 5 significant strikes per minute. Doesn't have a ton of power, but I love the volume she brings to the table. Karol Rosa, I believe, is either a brown belt or a black belt at this point in BJJ. And she's not the best wrestler in the world, but she can get takedowns. She was able to get a takedown against Yana Santos, a couple takedowns against Lena Landsberg, a takedown against Sarah McMahon, a couple takedowns against Jocelyn Edwards, Vanessa Mello. So, yeah, she's not the best wrestler, but she's gotten takedowns in 5 of her UFC fights, and I kind of feel like if she gets takedowns here, she can potentially win minutes. I mean, we saw Aldana get taken down. I know it's Amanda Nunes, but, taken down 6 times by Nunes, taken down 3 times by Macy Chiasson, taken down 5 times by Holly Holm. And, yeah, all these fighters are, better wrestler grapplers than Karol Rosa, but I feel like she still could get a takedown here or there is what I'm saying. And then on the feet, I do like the striking of Aldana. I favor the striking of Aldana. I like the power of Aldana, but I feel like Karol Rosa can make it competitive with her crazy volume that she does bring to the table. At the end of the day, it's a close fight. It's a fight that I'm not touching, but I am going to pick the dog here on Karol Rosa to win a very, very close split competitive decision. All right, we'll move on now to, I believe this is the featured prelim. Yeah, featured prelim here, and a very good featured prelim nonetheless. We got Bryce Mitchell going against Josh Emmett. We got Bryce Mitchell, 29 years old, 5'10", with a 70-inch reach, 16-1. And 4-1 in his last 5 fights. Josh Emmett, 38 years old, 5'6", with a 70-inch reach, 18-4, and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. We'll take a look at the odds here. We have Bryce Mitchell opening up minus 185. He's currently minus 230. Josh Emmett opening up plus 160. He is currently plus 195. And yeah, so first look, I'm like, this should be Bryce Mitchell all day. Bryce Mitchell seems kind of unstoppable. He should go out here and win a decision. I mean, but the more I look into it, I don't know. with this fight. So Bryce Mitchell, an important thing to mention is Bryce Mitchell's taken this fight on short notice. That is huge to me because the style that Bryce Mitchell, brings to the table is just relentless wrestling, relentless grappling, just a ton of energy being used in a lot of these takedowns, and he has to go out there and wrestle for 15 minutes. He's not striking with Josh Emmett. He can't strike with Josh Emmett. Bryce Mitchell can't strike with a lot of guys in the division, or he's going to get hurt and knocked out, and that's definitely the case here. So for Bryce Mitchell to win this fight, he needs to come in here with a full tank for 15 minutes. So the short notice thing worries me a little bit. What also worries me is there's no evidence of Josh Emmett being taken down and controlled. And Josh Emmett's been in the UFC for a while now. I don't think there's any fights where he's getting taken down and controlled. There's fights where he's been taken down. I mean, he got taken down 3 times by Ilia Topuria in the 5th round. But that was in the 5th round in a fight where Topuria just 10-8'd him every single round on the feet. And then there was a fight back years ago. I think Scott Holtzman took him down a couple times, but Scott Holtzman wasn't able to hold him down or do nothing like that. It was actually Emmett that went out there and landed a ton of takedowns in his own right. But outside of that, guys aren't taking down Emmett, and guys aren't even attempting to take down Emmett. So, I mean, there's no evidence that Bryce Mitchell's going to go out there, because at least with Dan Ige, with Dan Ige, we've seen guys constantly take him down. Dan Ige has a 50% takedown defense. We've seen guys take down Dan Ige, control him. We've seen Ige lose minutes, where with Emmett, we haven't seen that yet. So Emmett, I believe, has a wrestling background. Emmett has really good striking, low volume, but a ton of power. And if Mitchell's not able to take down Josh Emmett, I mean, Mitchell's probably getting knocked out. Emmett hits like a truck, one of the hardest hitters in the featherweight division. I mean, Josh Emmett, there was a streak with Josh Emmett at one point where it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 fights for Josh Emmett, consecutive fights with a knockdown for Josh Emmett. 7 consecutive fights with a knockdown. So, yeah, I mean, it all comes down to whether or not Bryce Mitchell's able to control this fight for pretty much the entire time, because any point this is on the feet, Josh Emmett's going to be live to land a big shot, get a knockdown, get a knockout, win the round. So I know this line's, getting hammered towards Bryce Mitchell, but I don't know. I kind of like the dog here, and Josh Emmett, probably a very hot take this week, but a lot of people are down on Josh Emmett. This is just a completely different matchup. He got dominated on the feet by Ilia Topuria. He got hurt multiple times against Yair Rodriguez. He doesn't have to worry about any of that here. I mean, Bryce Mitchell's striking is nowhere near the caliber of a Topuria, of a Rodriguez, of a Cater. So we're going to see. I think we're going to find out a lot about Josh Emmett. Although he's 38, I don't know how he's going to react to getting takedown. Is he going to get takedown? Is he going to get up? We'll see, but I lean Josh Emmett here. I don't know whether he does win by knockout. I could see like a damage-based decision, because even that Ige fight, like, some people did make the case for Ige. I scored the fight for Mitchell, but Ige landed a lot of damage in that fight. Completely shut the eye of Mitchell, hurt Mitchell on multiple occasions. I could see something like that happening here, where, you know, Emmett lands a knockdown, lands a big shot, Mitchell does get him down. I could see this being like a damage control type decision, or maybe Emmett just straight knocks him out. We'll have to see. But yeah, I'm going to take Emmett here as a dog. I'll take him to win this fight. Officially, I'll say by decision. Moving on to the next fight, we got the main card opener, Ian Machado Garry going against Vicente Luque. We got Garry, 26 years old, 6'3", with a 74-inch reach, 13-0, and 5-0 in his last 5 fights. Vicente Luque, 32 years old, 5'11", with a 76-inch reach, 22-9-1, and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. We'll take a look at the odds here. Ian Garry, big favorite, opening up -250, currently -380. Vicente Luque, big dog, opening up +210, currently +320. And yeah, Ian Garry's probably the most hated fighter on this card, which is saying a lot because there's a ton of hated fighters on this card. Colby Covington, a lot of people hate him. A lot of people hate Paddy Pimblett. But no, Ian Garry, a lot of people do not like this guy. So, I don't know. I mean, Vicente Luque probably is one of my favorite fighters. I'd say in like the top 3 of my 3 top favorite fighters, he's in there. And that's because Vicente Luque, outside of the Muhammad fight and outside of the RDA fight, he's never in a boring fight. This is a guy in Luque who is a guy that, you know, next level tough, or at least once was, next level durable, a guy that is always getting into wars, a guy that is always in fun, exciting fights, back and forth, you know, take one to give one type fights. And the problem I'm having here is I just don't think we're getting the same Luque as you know, like a year or 2 ago or 3 ago, right? I mean, Vicente Luque, he's only 32, but I feel like all this damage is starting to add up on him. I mean, and he's taken a ton of damage. He gets hit in the face a lot. He's one of those guys where, you know, there's some guys in the UFC where you're like, you know, this guy's never going to get knocked out. Marlon Vera, you know, comes to mind. Marlon Vera is never going to get knocked out. Max Holloway, it's hard to imagine Max Holloway getting knocked out. And Vicente Luque was that guy. It was like, it's hard to imagine somebody knocking out Vicente Luque. And then he fought Jeff Neal. And Jeff Neal just put it on him. I mean, it was a terrible beatdown. And he knocked out Vicente Luque brutally in the 3rd round. Just a brutal knockout after Luque already took a ton of damage in that fight. And I think that fight really changed Luque for the worse. I mean, there was talks before the RDA fight, like Luque had like a brain bleed, like a really bad brain injury. I was worried about, a lot of people were worried about him coming back and never fighting again. But he did come back against RDA and he won the fight, but it was a different Luque. We've never seen Luque go out there and, funny enough, like fight to a game plan. We've never seen Luque go out there and wrestle for 25 minutes, but he did that against RDA and he fought smart. And then after the fight, something he said really caught my attention. And what he said was something along the lines of he was kind of scared to get hit early on. He said he was scared to get hit early on in the fight, which I never thought in a million years somebody, Vicente Luque, would say that. Like, that's, Luque loves to get hit, but he said he was scared to get hit in that RDA fight. So that's probably why he went out there and grappled for 25 minutes. And this is a fight where I just don't think that's on the table. Ian Garry is not RDA. RDA's a guy that has fought a lot of his career at lightweight. RDA's 5'8". Ian Garry's 6'3", so I don't think Luque's going to have success in terms of taking down Garry like he did against RDA. I think he's going to try, I really do, but I don't think he's going to have success. And then on the feet, I mean, Vicente Luque, he's a punching bag, especially lately. I mean, he looks a lot slower. He looks like he's like really declining nowadays. I mean, he looked so bad in the Jeff Neal. And I know it's Jeff Neal, but he looked so bad in that fight. I feel like Garry's going to have a field day on the feet here. I know a lot of people are going to pick against Garry just because they hate him, but I can't do that. You know, no matter how I feel about Garry, I just feel like this point of their careers, I got to go Garry here, and I got to go Garry. I was thinking knockout. I'm kind of leaning knockout, but I took a look at the odds for the knockout prop. They're terrible. It's like plus 160. I feel like that's awful against a guy like Luque, but the odds makers are kind of over it. I think the durability of Luque is really starting to wane here, and I worry about him. So I'm going to take Garry by knockout. If this fight was 2-3 years ago, at plus 320, sure, I'd take Luque. I just don't think it's the same Luque is the problem. So give me Garry. I'll take Garry to win this fight by third round knockout. I think he puts a beat down on Luque and finishes him late, sadly. All right, moving on, we got a fight that should not be sanctioned, and the matchmakers should probably go to jail. We got Paddy Pimblett going against Tony Ferguson. We got Paddy Pimblett, 28 years old, 5'10", with a 73-inch reach, 20-3, and 5-0 in his last 5 fights. Tony Ferguson, 39 years old, 5'11", with a 76.5-inch reach, 25-9, and 0-6 in his last 6 fights. We'll take a look at the odds here. Paddy Pimblett opened up minus 250, currently minus 295. Tony Ferguson opened up plus 210. Currently plus 235. And yeah, like I said, this fight should not be happening. Tony Ferguson, I know he's a fan favorite, one of my favorite fighters. I mean, he should not be fighting. He should not have been fighting his last couple fights. That Diaz fight, he looked terrible in that fight. He insta-tapped against Diaz, which just makes no sense. And then I guess what the last straw for me was the Bobby Green fight. He looked terrible in that fight. I mean, it was hard. It was really hard to watch. It did not look anything like the Tony Ferguson that we all know and love. Nothing like it. Like, I was cringing at every shot that landed from Bobby Green, a guy in Bobby Green who doesn't have a ton of power. He was just, getting reactions out of Tony Ferguson, hurting Tony Ferguson. Ferguson was busted up, and then Bobby Green submits Tony Ferguson, which it just makes no sense, but it just goes to show you like how done Tony is at this point. He's 39 years old. He's taken a lifetime amount of damage. He's lost his last 6 fights. It was the Gaethje fight. The Gaethje fight ruined Tony, I think. I mean, after that Gaethje fight, he's just been all downhill. I mean, it's been terrible since that Gaethje fight. So this fight should not be. I mean, we see what the UFC is doing. They're taking Paddy Pimblett, who has star potential. A lot of people hate this guy, but a lot of people like this guy. But a lot of people talk about this guy. I mean, this guy is a star. He's a star. People like him. People hate him. People talk about him. He's big. He's a big. He's a big star. And Tony Ferguson, fan favorite, right? And if Paddy Pimblett can go out there and beat Tony Ferguson, that's a great win on the resume of Paddy Pimblett. For a lot of people, but not me. I mean, this fight, it shouldn't be happening. It doesn't make sense. Paddy Pimblett should win this fight. Should win this fight dominantly. I feel like we could see like a corner stoppage, a doctor stoppage, like a referee like mercy stoppage after the first round. I mean, this is going to be bad. This fight should not be happening. I don't like Tony's chances. I know a lot of people are going to pick him. A lot of people were picking Ferguson against Bobby Green. I think that's, picking more as a fan, and that's not something I do. I got to go Pimblett. I don't know if I'd favor anybody in the lightweight division over Ferguson right now. So hopefully, for the love of God, Ferguson either retires or the UFC doesn't let him back in here because it's starting to get very, very hard to watch. But give me Paddy Pimblett to win this fight. I'll say second round sub. Moving on, we got Shavkat Rakhmonov going against Stephen Thompson. We got Shavkat, 29 years old, 6'1", with a 77-inch reach, 17-0, and obviously 5-0 in his last 5 fights. Stephen Thompson, 40 years old, 6 foot, with a 75-inch reach, 17-6-1, and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. We'll take a look at the odds here. Shavkat, biggest favorite on the card, open up minus 300, currently minus 650. Oh my gosh. Stephen Thompson opened up plus 250, currently plus 475. And I think you can make a case for a lot of the dogs on this card. This just isn't one of them for me. I mean, I think this is a horrible matchup for Stephen Thompson. A lot of people think that, the UFC's punishing Stephen Thompson for not accepting the Pereira fight after Pereira missed weight by a pound or two. It may be. I mean, but yeah, this fight's terrible for Thompson. I mean, this is a stylistic matchup nightmare for Stephen Thompson. You take a look at, guys like Gilbert Burns, beating Thompson the way he did, Bilal Muhammad especially the way he did. I mean, if you take down Stephen Thompson, you can beat him. Shavkat Rakhmonov should have no problem getting takedowns here, And when he does get on top, he has some of the nastiest ground and pound in the division. He has a very good submission game as well. 17 wins, 17 finishes for Shavkat Rakhmonov. It's just unheard of. I think 9 submissions, 8 knockouts, something like that. It's ridiculous. I mean, this guy is so dangerous. And yeah, I feel like Shavkat gets the fight down on the mat. He wasn't able to in the Neal fight, but Neal has really good takedown defense. Thompson, not so much. Thompson's 40 years old at this point. Shavkat's 11 years young. And there's just a lot of reasons to like Shavkat here. There's a reason he's a massive favorite. I think he looks like a massive favorite. I think he pays off this price tag. I think he gets the fight down to the mat. And I think he finishes Stephen Thompson by TKO. Like I said, Shavkat's ground and pound is vicious. We saw Bilal Muhammad almost TKO Stephen Thompson on multiple occasions in this fight. And I was watching that Muhammad fight thinking to myself, I mean, if Bilal Muhammad's doing this to you on the mat, I mean, what the heck is Shavkat going to do? So, yeah, I got to go Shavkat. Give me Shavkat to win this fight by second round TKO. Vicious ground and pound TKO incoming. I'm pretty sure it's happening. So give me a Shavkat second round KO. Moving on, we got the co-main event. I did do a breakdown video for both the co-main event and main event, so check those out. Those are on the channel. Went a little bit more into to detail, but we got a fun fight here. I'm looking forward to this fight. A lot of people are crapping on this fight. Like, they're not excited for this fight. How can you not be excited for this fight? It's going to be fun. It's going to be a very fun fight. My personal favorite fight on the card. We got Pantoja, 33 years old, 5'5", with a 68-inch reach, 26-5, 4-1 in his last 5 fights. Brandon Royval, 31 years old, 5'9", with a 70.5-inch reach, 15-6 and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. Flyweight championship rematch here. Really looking forward to this fight. Pantoja opened up minus 260, believe it or not, currently minus 190. Royval opened up plus 200, currently plus 160. And this is a fight that I actually, believe it or not, have went kind of back and forth on. Because I went back and watched their first fight, which I think is very important to go back and watch. And not much has changed since then, because the fight wasn't too long ago. But in their first fight, first of all, both guys showed like no striking defense whatsoever. Both guys were just landing clean on the other guy. Both guys have great chins, don't get me wrong, but the striking defense of both guys is just non-existent, which is really fun to watch. And then what I also noticed was, so I remember having a bet on Pantoja in that fight and thinking to myself, this is not good. This is not good at all, because Pantoja looked tired in the first round. It's like he was wilting to the pressure, the pace of Royval in the first round. The second round starts. Pantoja looks done. He looks done. He looks exhausted. I thought, okay, this is the beginning of the end. And then all of a sudden, Brandon Royval makes a mistake. Pantoja takes in his back and chokes him out. I have like a sigh of relief, because I thought Pantoja was about to get broken and down the stretch and finish there. So I kind of thought maybe Royval can do exactly that, kind of walk through the fire, get Pantoja tired, extend this fight a little bit. But the more I think about it, the more I just feel like Brandon Royval makes a ton of mistakes. And there's no fighter like Brandon Royval. He has no striking defense. I mean, some of his stats on paper are wild. So he has a 39% takedown defense, which I kind of feel like that is a little bit high for him. I feel like it should be like 0, because he doesn't stuff a takedown. He doesn't want to stuff a takedown. He's more than content to play off his back and scramble. And so, yeah, 39% takedown defense. And then he has a 50% striking defense, which I feel like that's kind of high as well, because he doesn't really have any striking defense. He's kind of uses his chin as striking defense. So, yeah, I mean, Brandon Royval just makes mistakes, whether it's getting hit clean on the feet, which against Pantoja, not something you really want to do. We've seen Royval dropped a lot. And then on the mat, he makes a ton of mistakes. And this guy is submission over position to a T. I mean, this guy gives up his back. He gives up mount. He's losing position. And you can't do that against Pantoja. You just can't. We saw it in the first fight. You make one mistake against Pantoja, you give up your back, the fight's over. I mean, if Pantoja gets your back, the fight is over. Pantoja has an incredible submission game. So I kind of lean towards Pantoja finding something at some point. Royval making a mistake like he always does, and you can't make a mistake at this level. You can't make a mistake against a guy like Pantoja. So I like Pantoja here. I'm going to take him to win this fight by first round submission. I think it's going to be an absolute banger for as long as it lasts, but I like Pantoja to get his hand raised and still. Next, we got the main event, Leon Edwards, Colby Covington. Don't forget, guys, to comment down your significant strikes combined for the two. giving out $25 free and then a free t-shirt as well to the winner. But yeah, we got Leon Edwards. He's 32 years old, 6'2", with a 74-inch reach, 21-3, and 4-0-1 no contest in his last 5 fights. Colby Covington, 35 years old, 5'11", with a 72-inch reach, 17-3, and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. We'll take a look at the odds. We have Leon Edwards opening up -145, currently -165. Colby Covington opening up +125, currently +145. We have the welterweight championship on the line here. Colby Covington getting a title shot here, and Leon Edwards is going to be defending the title for what, the third time, or the second time here. So yeah, it's a close fight, I think. I think this is a close fight. I think there's reasons to like either guy here. Which side do I lean on? And I kind of lean on the Colby Covington side. So what worries me on the Covington side is this. He's 35 years old. That's a concern. His chin worries me a little bit. I mean, Colby Covington's been dropped 4 times in like the last 3 fights. So actually 5 times in the last couple fights. Jorge Masvidal dropped him. They didn't officially count that as a knockdown, but come on, he dropped him. Kamaru Usman dropped him 4 times in their 2 fights, and Leon Edwards isn't some big power puncher or nothing like that, but Leon Edwards, he has power. I mean, he could potentially drop Colby Covington, maybe knock him out, maybe. I mean, that could be on the table, so that worries me. The layoff worries me. Colby Covington's not fought in a very long time. That concerns me. So yeah, a lot of concerns on the Covington side, but with all that said, I mean, I think he has a style that can really give Leon Edwards some problems. Colby Covington's obviously not the better striker in this matchup. Leon Edwards' striking is phenomenal, but Colby definitely has more volume. Leon Edwards is landing like 2.8 significant strikes per minute. Colby Covington landing 4.10. And mind you, that is including like all the control time Colby Covington's getting. So at distance, I mean, a number that shocked me was at distance, Colby Covington's attempting 18 strikes per minute, where Leon Edwards, it's 8. So, I mean, just Leon Edwards, extremely low volume, incredible striker, just low volume. Colby Covington, very, very, very high volume. He uses that pressure, that pace. And then on top of that, we haven't even talked about the takedowns yet for Colby Covington. Colby Covington's landing 4 takedowns per 15 minutes. He can wrestle. He can go out there and attempt 10, 15 takedowns if need be. And the one time we have seen Colby struggle is against Kamaru Usman. And Kamaru Usman has elite takedown defense. Prior to the Chimaev fight for Usman, which he took up a weight class on short notice, Usman's takedown defense was like 97%. It was crazy. And Covington went 0 for 11 on takedowns in both those fights. Leon Edwards is not Kamaru Usman in terms of the wrestling, in terms of the takedown defense. I feel like Colby Covington can push this against the cage, take down Leon Edwards consistently, wear on him, get him down, control him, and win a decision here. But I think it could potentially be close because I could see like Leon Edwards landing a big shot here or there, wobbling Colby, maybe dropping him here or there. So yeah, I think we do get a decision here. I think it is competitive, but I got to go with the dog here in Colby Covington. I think he has a clear path to victory in this one. So give me Colby Covington for the win. I'll take him to win this fight by decision. Thank you guys all so much for watching. If you guys could leave a like on your way out, subscribe on your way out as well. I'll be going live Friday twice, and then Saturday once for Best Bet. 2 Best Bet shows this week, which really looking forward to that. One on Friday, one on Saturday. The Final Thoughts stream as well. Betting content, DraftKings content, Prize Picks content as well. So yeah, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on all of that. Do want to shout out Prize Picks once more. This video is brought to you by Prize Picks. Use promo code DFSBTN. Get yourself a 100% deposit match up to $100. And then lastly, I want to shout out the website. I have 1 bet thus far, looking at a ton of bets. I'm going to have a really big card this week. Lots of dogs, lots of props sticking out for this week. So make sure you check that out. But yeah, I'll be talking about all my bets Friday and Saturday as well, if you guys want to wait for that. So that is about it. Thank you guys so much for watching. Comment those significant strikes, and best of luck for UFC 296. Thank you guys for a phenomenal year, and we'll see you guys soon. Peace.